One comment I continually get, especially in my live stream watch-alongs, which formation is the best? Luke, which formation do you think is the best? And I'll be honest,
I don't know.
while I love tactics, being an American football coach over here, I haven't dug into the tactics like I probably should. So today we're going to learn about the 4-3-3 formation. We're going to figure out what formation do I actually think is the best. If I were to coach this sport, which formations would I go with? Things like that. So here we go.
By far my most requested video on this channel with a total of 2 comments. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the 4-3-3 and why it's been one of the most used formations for the past few decades.
Alright, let's learn about this
4-3-3 has been used by some of the greatest clubs in football history. From Louis van Gaal's Ajax in 1995 to Pep Guardiola's Barcelona in 2009, all the way to Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool in 2019, it's been one of the best defensive formations for decades. And in the modern game, a lot of big clubs are still using it. Manchester City are currently running away with the title, having lost only 1 game when playing with a 4-3-3. Last season champions Liverpool are not having the best season, but their previous season's performances with these formations were some of the best in recent history. PSG are top of Ligue 1 on goal difference, and their incredible offensive statistics are an example of how lethal the 4-3-3 can be. And finally, Barcelona are currently in 2nd place and are yet to lose a game when lining up in the 4-3-3, and are slowly closing the gap on Atletico Madrid. To get the most out of this formation, it does require a lot of specific players. And so, let's take a look at what each player's roles are within the 4-3-3. Firstly, the goalkeeper needs to be an excellent ball player, as this formation will require the team to build up play from the back, and as a result will need to be able to pick a pass when under pressure from the opposition striker. Barcelona's André ter Stegen is an excellent example of this, able to support the first phase of Barcelona's...
So basically he needs to be a good distributor because he's going to be the first phase of an offensive play, turning defense into offense. So he needs to be able to get passes out quickly, especially in an attacking situation if defenders are closing on him.
Attack and pick out players with precise passes. The centre-backs must also be excellent ball players, able to move the ball upfield under pressure and pick out a pass into the midfield to break the first line of offensive press. At times, they will also need to have good long ball precision to find the wingers or strikers if the opposition defence is not set up properly. Most importantly, however, they need to be excellent defenders, with strong physical presence and good aerial control, given that on opposition counterattacks they will be required to close down the strikers and give them no space to play in. This season, the defensive partnership of Stones and Diaz at Manchester City have been outstanding, with the best pass completion stats in the team, and by far the most plays per 90. Next up, the fullbacks need to be athletic and help support attack and defense throughout the match. Contrary to a back 3 lineup, the fullbacks...
Wow, so the fullbacks, man, they've got to be able to cover the entirety of the pitch, and they've got to be quick. They've got to be able to move fast so they can get from their goal to the opponent's goal. Wow.
Have a much more important defensive role with a 4-3-3, and will need to have a good understanding with his teammate on the other flank, adapting to each other's position. For example, if the left back has pushed up to support the attack, then it's common for the right back to shift inside and support the defensive line. Last season, the partnership between Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson was one of the best in Europe, with 25 assists between them and also helping Liverpool achieve the best defensive record in the league. In the midfield 3 is where we can start to see the main differences of how teams line up based on the players they have at their disposal. It can vary from a flat 3, a triangle with 2 defensive and 1 offensive midfielder, and a triangle with 1 defensive and 2 offensive players. The 3 midfielders need to have excellent passing precision and the ability to pick out players between the lines. They will need to support the defence during build-up and pick out the forwards on the attack, with late runs onto the edge of the box or with precise through balls. The 3-man midfield is usually assigned 3 roles: the defender, the controller, and the creator. The defender is the defensive midfielder who shields the back 4. The controller sets the tempo of the game and can be considered as a box-to-box midfielder. And finally, the creator links up the midfield with the forwards ahead of him, usually creating the most chances for the team. This is extremely evident in Manchester City's midfield 3 from this season. An excellent CDM with Rodrigo, a great controller with Gundogan, and one of the best creators in the world with Kevin De Bruyne, currently with the 2nd most assists in the league.
De Bruyne.
Finally, the 3 forwards are the key to all offensive success in the 4-3-3. Firstly, the wingers will need to be excellent dribblers and be extremely quick, making them excel in 1v1 situations. They will need to have a good understanding with the striker, but also with the fullbacks, either cutting inside to give the fullback space or staying wide and allowing for the overlap. The striker...
Yeah, I never thought about how the forwards would actually, those wingers would actually have to interact with those fullbacks, especially if the fullback's going to be expected to play up on that side of the pitch. So that creates a numbers mismatch up there. So players need to understand their roles pretty well to know, hey, if the winger is coming up this side of the pitch, I need to bump over into the to give us four up there at the front. So I never thought about the interaction between these players, or just basically understanding your role. If you know your job and you know what your role is supposed to be, then I don't think you really have to be, yelling at each other or communicating vocally, but you can know where to go if you know your role.
In the 4-3-3 can vary greatly based on the tactics of the manager. In some teams, they rely on a strong target man to latch onto any long balls and play the wingers in behind, or to get on the end of any crosses into the box. While in other teams, the centre forward is a lot more dynamic, often playing as a false nine and freeing up the box for the wingers to move into. With a strong target man, we can see this with Antoine Griezmann at Barcelona, with Messi and Dembele looking for the layoff or crossing the ball to Griezmann for a headed goal. With a false nine, we can see this in PSG, with Keane coming short and freeing up the space for Mbappe and Di Maria to move.
Okay, so I think y'all tell me if I'm wrong here, and I probably am. But so I was always under the impression that Messi was a striker, and then I remember some folks telling me he's not a striker, he's a winger, and by being a forward, being up there on the wing, if he is the recipient of passes from the striker, does that mean that they played with a false nine? That the striker is dropping back to kind of to play that false nine position so he can play the ball to his wingers, and that means that Messi ends up being on the receiving end of a lot of the offense because they're playing with a false nine. Maybe I'm conflating this concept or not completely understanding it, and I'm sure I have some knowledgeable fans who can let me know in the comment section below, but I'm trying to grasp it.
So the 4-3-3 isn't going to work for everyone, and it does require the team to be excellent passers and be able to move the ball through tight spaces. Now let's examine this further by taking a look at the main attacking threats it possesses. Before looking at the main attacking dynamics, there are two key words that you need to keep in mind when talking about the 4-3-3. The first word is triangles. Just by looking at the basic shape of a 4-3-3, you can see the amount of triangles
I caught that.
creates. There's triangles in the defense, there's triangles in the midfield, and there's triangles in attack. By dividing the pitch horizontally, we see that these shapes provide an excellent cover all up the pitch that helps.
I said that when I watched my Tiki Taka video. I'm like, dude, there's triangles appearing everywhere on this field, and they're playing the ball around in these little triangles. And so that makes sense in a 4-3-3.
The ball upfield, acting as a sort of stepladder from one zone to the next. And when dividing the pitch vertically, we can see that this formation will always feature players in key positions such as the half spaces, with at least 2 players in each of the 5 zones. Triangles are a fantastic way of bypassing opposition players, as a player who is receiving the ball will always have at least 2 options available to him. The second word to keep in mind is interchangeability. While I'm not sure if this is a word, I'm certain of the importance that this plays within the formation. For the 4-3-3 to truly be used effectively, it requires the team to constantly move and cover other teammates' runs. For example, if the fullback pushes up, then the CDM will shift out wide to cover any defensive holes. If the winger moves inside, then their centre attacking midfielder can move out to the wing to stretch the opposition. The constant movement and position changes are what truly make this formation effective.
Right.
Now let's move on to the main attacking dynamics. As with all modern tactics, the 4-3-3 is at its best when building up play from the back line. Compared to other popular formations in the modern game, the 4-3-3 is more narrow and direct formation and will attempt to create passing lanes through the midfield to reach the striker. When starting play, if the opposition is pressing the 2 centre-backs, then the CDM can drop between them and help shift the ball, given that if the opposition midfielder now presses with a front 3, they will be outnumbered in midfield. Or, if the CDM stays slightly higher up the pitch, one of the fullbacks can drop alongside the centre-backs to create a 3v2 situation and overcome the first offensive line. The most important task for the midfield is to move the ball rapidly. Against the 4-4-2, the 4-3-3 will always outnumber the midfield too, and will force the opposition wingers to come help support the 2 centre mids, subsequently freeing up the wing for the fullbacks to shift into. The three midfielders should also aim to be on staggered lines and create triangle passing options. Given the importance of the midfield three, it's vital that they are in constant movement and shifting into areas high up the pitch. Let's take a look at some of the movements that are common with the ball shifting out wide to the fullbacks. From here, the winger could come short to drag the opposition fullback out of position, freeing up the space for the centre mid to move into. By doing this, the team can create an overload on the wing, and will also free up the centre for the striker to drop deep and lay the ball off to either the box-to-box midfielder or even the other winger cutting inside. Another example could see the winger move into the half space, and with the fullback unloading the ball to the midfield, overlapping on the wing.
Yeah, you've always got to be looking for where that open space is, where that extra number is. And so movement and position is key, because whenever that open space opens up, then you know where your passing lane is. I think. I think I'm starting to understand it. I'm not going to lie. He's moving a little faster. I'm trying to catch up. I'm listening quick. I'm listening with my college ears now. It's like I'm in class again.
And stretching the opposition's back four. The 4-3-3 is also an excellent formation at exposing space on the opposite wing. The term tiki-taka is not just a fancy word used to describe intricate passes, but is also a fantastic tactic that forces the opposition to commit more.
Yeah, it leaves that entire side of the pitch open.
And by doing this, we'll usually free the space on the other flank for a quick switch of play, where the winger or fullback can find themselves in a 1v1 situation. Further up the pitch, when entering the final third,
back to where
is where the box-to-box midfielder and the centre-attacking midfielder have a big impact on their attacking creativity. The attacking mid will usually shift from side to side to support the transitional phase before providing precise passes in behind, while the box-to-box midfielder can act as a backwards pass if needed if there's little space to move into. When moving into the opposition's box, it's common for the 4-3-3 to have an incredible amount of attacking players available. The three forwards will occupy the box, the two midfielders will be used as support on each flank, and the width will usually be provided by one of the two fullbacks, while the other will often move further infield and add to their defensive numbers. The inverted fullback we see under Pep Guardiola is an excellent example of this. This final position leaves a lot of options available for the team to exploit. The fullback could cut down the flank and cross to the striker, or he could choose to lay the ball off to one of the centre mids, attempting some quick overlaps and 1-2 passing plays, or even take an effort from outside the box, as many creative camps are capable of doing from this position. The advantages of this formation is that the attacking threats it possesses in the final third can't always be structured or analysed, and can be created by a moment of individual genius by one of the players, making it extremely difficult to defend against. Now, although it does commit a lot of players on the attack, it is still a very reliable defensive lineup.
Alright, let's see how it defends.
In the final third, there can be many players pushing the opposition's back line, but the 4-3-3 is still able to retain its defensive shape, usually with the two centre-backs, the holding mid, and at times one of the full-backs. These 3 or 4 players are often enough to close down the opposition's team's striker and win any loose balls, and as a result, the 4-3-3 is an excellent formation for pinning teams back and pressing high up the pitch. No formation embodies the high press better than the 4-3-3. From Ajax in 1995 to Liverpool in 2019, this lineup is excellent at winning possession back early and venting any attacking threat. With the ball in possession of the goalkeeper, the striker will usually close down the space and force the keeper into one direction. With the ball shifting into the centre-backs, one of the centre-mids can press the other centre-back, and the winger will cover the full-back. The CDM in this case will cover whichever attacking mid has moved up, and will attempt to block any passing lanes into the middle of the pitch. By blocking the team into a specific area, it forces the opponents to think fast or to go long, which can often lead to a mistake and help the team turn over possession frequently. And when the team is able to regain possession, the player on the ball will immediately have players around him to help start their attack.
Starts off a counter-attack.
If the opposition is able to break down the press, then the 4-3-3 will usually shift into a 4-5-1 or 4-1-4-1 formation. The wingers will drop in alongside the midfielders, and together will aim to push play out wide. Another advantage of this formation is that having 3 midfielders will create a lot of congestion in the middle of the pitch, which will make it hard for teams to make any substantial plays on the edge of the box. And
I'm guessing, because it seems like the 4-4-3 is effective at condensing the pitch, like getting all of the players into one section. So it opens up space for a counter-attack, especially if you regain position in an area like this. I'm guessing that a fullback could run the length of a pitch and start off basically a counter run or something like that. because it congests so much area, it easily defines where the open spaces are. At least that's how I'm thinking about it. As a defender, I'm thinking, wow, if we can collapse everything into one part of the field, or trap things and force things into one part of the field, then it leaves other parts of the pitch open to for counterattacking possibilities and opportunities, especially if we regain possession. Because I think that my philosophy with any kind of sport is trying to regain the possession. I really like possession play. So we'll see.
Will attempt to attack down the flanks, where it's easier to defend as they can use the touchline as an extra defender. In the final third, the two centre-backs will be tasked with clearing headers, and the three midfielders will attempt to gather any loose balls to start their attacking phase and potentially hit teams on the counter. On the back foot, teams in a 4-3-3 can sometimes choose to defend with 7 players, and the attacking 3 can stick high up the pitch, given that if they defend effectively, this can immediately create a counter-attacking opportunity and put the opposition on the back foot. Just like with all formations, the 4-3-3 is excellent when every part is moving together and the team is working as a unit. However, if this unit breaks down, it can be vulnerable to some specific attacking moves. First off, if the team gets a bit too excited and commits both fullbacks to the attack, then this formation can be vulnerable to counterattacks, specifically down the wings. While the centre
never commit both fullbacks to attack unless you're emergency situation, because look at all that open space. You're just leaving the opportunity for a counterattack. That's don't do that. Always leave a fullback back in the defense.
Have a good amount of cover, the flanks can often be exposed to balls over the midfield line and into pockets of space behind the fullbacks. Secondly, this formation requires constant work from the centre midfielders, and will require excellent stamina and a fantastic work rate to support the team. If the opposition is able to close them down effectively and not give them any space, then the 4-3-3 will have no attacking power and will struggle to get the ball into the final third. Finally, one other issue that this formation can bring is if the wingers don't track back. While it is an excellent attacking formation, players
that must be why the midfield for Barcelona was so powerful. To have Xavi and Iniesta and Busquets, like that must be because after watching that video of Busquets and his skill and ability of retaining possession and the kind of moves that he could put on they were so formidable, and they're the key for the whole thing to work. The forwards and the attacking, the scoring players get all of the press, but that midfield with Iniesta and Xavi and Busquets was kind of like the driving force of that. And I'm guessing the same with Real Madrid when they have Cruz and Modric. I don't know who the other part of their midfield was, but I'm seeing kind of how that's an important key here.
Stuck in this mentality of constantly attacking, and can often find themselves too reluctant to perform their defensive duties. In a scenario like this, it would be too easy for the opposition to be in a 2v1 situation out wide and deliver balls into the box. So, to recap, the 4-3-3 is an excellent offensive formation for teams that like to move the ball quickly and attack with high numbers. The natural shape of this formation allows players to always have a passing option available and to exploit spaces in the opposition's back line, while also having a strong defensive backbone to rely on. Now, although the 4-3-3 does seem to have lost some of its popularity to other formations such as the 4-2-3-1 or the 3-4-3, it will definitely still be one of the most used formations for years to come. Now, what do you think of the 4-3-3? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you like this type of video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel.
I like the 4-3-3. In fact, I think it's the only one that I really understand. I've been playing FIFA a lot recently, and I always playing in a 4-3-3. And I like it for several reasons. It kind of fits my personality and my personal philosophy of coaching, which is that I love possession of the ball. My basic philosophy is if I have the ball longer than you do, there's less opportunity for you to score, and there's more opportunity for me to score. So I'm going to try to play a game of keep away, and I want to retain possession as absolutely long as I can. And so I love offensive-minded formations and tactics that are going to allow me to score as much as possible while also having the ability to be flexible and actually have a defensive prowess. But I would rather play an offensive style and just really hone in and focus and preach and display fundamental football, so that way we're controlling possession. Because if we're controlling possession, I don't need a formation that's going to be that defensive, because our best defense here is going to be the fact that we always have the ball. That's kind of my thought process here. I think the 4-3-3 is probably my favorite formation, and probably if I was coaching is probably the one that I would go with, because it fits my philosophy of offensive. I'm an offensive-minded coach, especially in American football, and I probably would be so in real football. If you like what you saw in this video, please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to definitely be checking out more tactical videos. If you like these tactical videos, then let me know down in the comments what you want me to talk about and learn. Like I said, I do coach American football. I know American football pretty well, and so I love the tactical aspect of the game, and I really enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'll see you guys in the next one.